Every day you wake up and look in the mirror, but how often do you really see yourself? Not the face, not the body, not the name, but the person behind all of that. The truth is, most people live their entire lives never discovering who they truly are. They become what the world wants them to be. They become reflections of opinions, expectations, and fears. But deep down, beneath all the noise, beneath all the labels, there's a real you, and until you meet that person, your life will always feel incomplete. You see, knowing who you are isn't about what you do or what you have. It's about what you believe, what you stand for, and what you're willing to fight for. It's about understanding your values and living by them, no matter who agrees or disagrees. Most people get lost trying to please everyone. They shape shift to fit into rooms where they don't belong, forgetting that authenticity is the foundation of power. When you know who you are, you stop seeking validation from the outside world. You stop chasing approval because you realize you are already enough. Every person at some point in their life comes face with the same question. Who am I? It's a question that echoes in the quiet moments when the world slows down and you're left alone with your thoughts. Most people avoid it because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to look beneath the surface, past your job, your possessions, your social identity, and into the raw truth of who you really are. But the reality is, until you confront that question, you can't truly live with purpose. You can exist, yes. You can wake up, go to work, chase money, expectations, but you'll always feel a hollow space inside, a quiet whisper telling you that something is missing. Self-discovery is the foundation of every great transformation. It's the spark that lights the fire of purpose, confidence, and direction. When you truly begin to know yourself, you stop moving through life by default and start moving by design. You stop reacting and start creating. You no longer become a product of your environment. You become the architect of your environment. You realize that life isn't something happening at tell you, it's something responding at tell you. The first step to knowing yourself is honesty. Brutal, unapologetic honesty. You can't build a life of authenticity on a foundation of lies. You have to be willing to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. The insecurities, the fears, the habits that hold you back. You have to look yourself in the mirror and stop pretending. Most people never do that because it's easier to blame someone else. It's easier to say, I'm like this because of my parents, or I can't change because of my past. But the truth is, the moment you stop hiding from yourself, you start freeing yourself. Every great person who has achieved something meaningful in life began with a period of deep self-reflection. They asked, what do I want? And what do I want it? Those questions sound simple, but they demand courage. Because sometimes when you answer them honestly, you realize you've been chasing the wrong things. You realize that some of your goals aren't truly yours. They're borrowed dreams from society, from your family, from people you wanted to impress. Self-discovery is about stripping away those borrowed layers until only you remain. Knowing who you are doesn't mean you'll have everything figured out overnight. It's not a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. It's evolve as life tests you, challenges you, and grows you. Every experience adds another piece to the puzzle. The victories teach you confidence. The failures teach you humility. The pain teaches you strength. The moments of silence teach you awareness. Slowly, you begin to see the picture more clearly. You realize that everything you've been through wasn't random. It was shaping you into who you were meant to become. When you start walking the path of self-discovery, your priorities change. You begin to value inner peace more than applause. You value growth more than comfort. You stop chasing what looks good and start pursuing what feels right. You begin to live with integrity, to align what you think, what you say, and what you do. And when those three align, you become powerful beyond measure, because you're no longer scattered, no longer torn between who you are and who the world expects you to be. You become whole. The greatest advantage of knowing yourself is clarity. Most people live in confusion because they don't know what they want. They wake up and let the world decide their priorities. They follow trends. They follow opinions. They follow noise. But when you know who you are, the noise fades. You stop getting distracted by every opportunity or discouraged by every failure. You move with intention because you know your direction. You don't need external motivation anymore. You operate from inner drive. Think of it like this: when you know yourself, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You take the wheel. You stop reacting to the traffic of other people's opinions and start steering your own course. You stop trying to prove yourself because you realize there's nothing to prove. You stop competing because your only competition is yesterday's version of you. That's the essence of power. Not the power to control others, but the power to control yourself. Knowing who you are also means knowing who you're not. It's about understanding your limits, not to restrict yourself, but to focus your energy. You can't master everything. You can't please everyone, but you can master yourself. And when you do, the right people, the right opportunities, and the right paths will align naturally. Life rewards authenticity. The more you become yourself, the more doors open that were invisible when you were pretending. But here's the challenge. Discovering yourself isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It's messy. Because you have to unlearn years of conditioning. You have to confront the stories you were told about your worth, your potential, your identity. You have to silence the voice of doubt that says, you're not enough. That voice is the real enemy. Not the critics, not the haters, not the obstacles. The real battle is always internal. The enemy within is the whisper of insecurity that tells you to play small. It's the part of you that doubts your ability, that convinces you to settle for less. It's the voice that says, don't try. You might fail. And the longer you listen to that voice, the more power it gains. But here's the truth: that voice is not reality. It's fear disguised as logic. It's the part of your mind that's addicted to safety. And if you let it, it will keep you trapped in a comfort zone that slowly kills your potential. Every time you choose fear over growth, that inner enemy wins a little more. Every time you make excuses, procrastinate, or downplay your abilities, it grows stronger. But the opposite is also true. Every time you act with courage, every time you take a small step toward your goals despite fear, you weaken that enemy. You remind yourself that you are stronger than your doubts. Think about the moments in your life when you felt unstoppable, when you took a risk, when you spoke up, when you pushed through fear and succeeded. It was the real you. That was your authentic self taking the wheel. The more you feed that version of you, the louder your inner strength becomes and the quieter your doubt gets. The internal enemy thrives in confusion and hesitation. But when you know who you are, you develop clarity. You know what you stand for, and that makes decisions easier. You stop wasting time overthinking because you have a compass inside you that points true north. You can face rejection without losing confidence because your value doesn't depend on anyone's approval. You can face failure without losing motivation because you understand that failure is not who you are. It's just something you experience. The greatest battle you'll ever fight is not against the world. It's against the weaker version of yourself. The one that wants to stay comfortable, that wants to avoid risk, that wants to hide behind excuses. But remember this, that version of you exists to test you. It exists so that you can rise above it. Every time you overcome fear, every time you silence doubt, every time you refuse to give up, you evolve. You become stronger, wiser, more grounded. You can't conquer the world until you conquer yourself. You can't build an extraordinary life while being controlled by an ordinary mindset. The enemy within must be tamed, and the only weapon strong enough to do that is awareness. The more aware you become of your thoughts, the more control you have over them. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you freedom. When you truly know yourself, you don't chase confidence, you are confidence. Because confidence is simply the byproduct of clarity. When you know who you are, what you value, and what you're capable of, there's no need to pretend. You walk into every situation with quiet power. You're not arrogant. You're grounded. You're decisive. You're desperate. You're not trying to impress. You're trying to express. And that's what the journey of self-discovery and conquering the enemy within is really about. It's about realizing that everything you've been searching for. Strength, peace, purpose has always been inside you. The world will try to distract you. Doubt will try to deceive you. And fear will try to delay you. But as long as you keep returning to your true self, you'll never lose direction. Knowing yourself is freedom. Mastering yourself is power. And defeating the enemy within is victory. The moment you understand that, your entire life begins to change. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. Look in the mirror for a moment. Not just a quick glance before you rush into your day, but a real look. Look beyond your reflection. Look into your eyes until you feel that strange discomfort, that quiet realization that you're not just looking at someone, you're looking into someone. That person staring back at you has dreams you've ignored, pain you've buried, and strength you've forgotten. That reflection knows the truth you've been avoiding, because deep down you already know who you are meant to become. You've just been afraid to face it. The mirror test is simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's not about appearance, it's about awareness. It's about asking yourself the question most people run from. If I wasn't afraid, what would I be doing right now? That one question exposes everything. It reveals your deepest desires and your deepest fears. It shows you the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be. It forces you to confront the truth that most of what holds you back is not circumstance, it's hesitation. Fear disguises itself in many forms. It pretends to be logic. It whispers, be realistic, when what it really means is, stay safe. It tells you to wait for the right time when the right time doesn't exist. It convinces you to settle for less, to shrink yourself so others won't feel small around you. Fear is clever. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers softly enough for you to mistake it for reason. But deep down your heart knows when you're lying to yourself. When you stand in front of that mirror and strip away the excuses, you begin to see the real you. Not the version shaped by opinions, not the one molded by rejection, but the version that existed before the world told you who to be. The version of you is bold, passionate, and limitless. It's the version that dreamed as a child before anyone said, you can't. It's the version that still lives inside you, waiting for you to remember. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the person other people decided you were. You are potential in motion. You are resilience wrapped in skin. Every scar you carry tells a story of survival, not defeat. The mirror doesn't judge you. It simply reflects what you believe about yourself. Change the belief, and the reflection changes too. When you can look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I'm becoming, that's when you know you're growing. Because pride doesn't come from perfection. It comes from progress. It comes from knowing that even if you're not where you want to be yet, you're moving in the right direction. Every step, every lesson, every setback you've overcome has built the person you see now. The mirror isn't your enemy. It's your reminder. It reminds you that you're capable, that you've come farther than you give yourself credit for, and that your journey isn't over. Most people avoid the mirror test because they're afraid of what they'll see. They fear seeing wasted time, broken promises, or untapped potential. But the mirror isn't there to shame you. It's there to wake you up. It's there to remind you that the only person standing between you and the life you want is the person staring back at you. You don't need permission to change. You don't need approval to evolve. You just need to decide that you're done living small. The mirror teaches accountability. It forces you to own your choices. Because once you stop blaming others, you regain your power. The moment you say, this is my life, and I'm responsible for it, you stop being a victim and start being a creator. That's where transformation begins. You can't fix what you won't face, and the mirror is the first step toward facing it. When you start being honest with yourself, everything shifts. You begin to see patterns. How fear has shaped your habits, how doubt has influenced your decisions, how comfort has kept you stuck. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you know, you can't go back to pretending. The reflection forces you to choose, will you keep lying to yourself, or will you finally start living as your authentic self? Being authentic takes courage, because authenticity means standing out in a world that rewards conformity. It means speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. It means walking your path even when no one understands it. The courage to be different is rare, but it's the only path to greatness. Because everything extraordinary begins with someone who was willing to be misunderstood. Most people want to fit in because fitting in feels safe. But safety has a price. It costs you your individuality. The world will try to convince you to be like everyone else, to think the same, dress the same, live the same. But the moment you conform, you lose your magic. You lose the fire that makes you, you. The people who change the world don't follow the crowd. They follow their conviction. They understand that greatness and comfort never coexist. Being different doesn't mean be rebellious just for the sake of it. It means being true to your values, even when it's inconvenient. It means refusing to compromise your integrity for acceptance. It means understanding that you don't need everyone to like you. You just need to respect yourself. The crowd will always have opinions, but opinions don't define you. Your choices do. The courage to be different is not about arrogance. It's about authenticity. It's about showing up fully as yourself, not the watered down version the world expects. When you live authentically, you attract people and opportunities that align with your truth. You stop begging to be included because you realize you were never meant to fit into spaces that require you to shrink. You start building your own table instead of waiting for a seat at someone else's. Every time you choose to be yourself, you send a message to the world that says, I am enough as I am. That message is powerful because it liberates not only you, but also others who are watching. When you live authentically, you become an example. You give others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. People feel it. They respect it because deep down, everyone craves the freedom to be themselves. But being different comes with a price. Not everyone will understand you. Some will criticize you. Others will leave you, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. The right people will recognize your authenticity. The wrong ones will fall away. And that's how life filters your circle, not through rejection, but through revelation. Standing out means standing alone sometimes. It means walking into rooms where no one claps for you yet. It means believing in your vision when no one else can see it. But here's the thing. Every great story begins with isolation. Every great dream starts with someone who believed in themselves when the world didn't. The loneliness of standing alone, the strength that builds lasts forever. You will be tested. There will be moments when you'll question yourself, when you'll wonder if it's worth it. In those moments, remind yourself that authenticity is not a strategy. It's a commitment. A commitment to live in alignment with your values, even when it's hard. A commitment to choose purpose over popularity, truth over comfort, growth over approval. The people who make the biggest impact in the world are those who refuse to be copies. They didn't ask for permission to be themselves. They gave it to themselves. They understood that real success isn't measured by how many people like you, but by how many lives you touch by being your true self. You can't inspire anyone by pretending, by being real, raw, flawed, and human. When you live as your authentic self, something incredible happens. You stop feeling the need to compete because you realize that no one else can do what you do in the way that you do it. You understand that your uniqueness is your advantage. The world doesn't need another imitation. It needs your originality. It needs your story, your voice, your perspective. So when you look in the mirror, don't just see your reflection. See your power. See the potential in your eyes. See the person who has overcome everything they thought would break them. See the person who's still standing, still fighting, still evolving. You owe it to that person to stop hiding. You owe it to that person to live fully. The mirror is your reminder that you are both the sculptor and the sculpture. Every choice you make, every risk you take, every truth you speak, it all shapes you. And the courage to be different is what carves out your masterpiece. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't reward those who blend in. It remembers those who stood out. Don't be afraid to be that person. Don't be afraid to walk your own path. Don't be afraid to look in the mirror and say, this is me. Because the day you stop running from your reflection is the day you start becoming unstoppable. And when you finally embrace who you are, not who the world wants you to be, that's when your real life begins. Life only begins to make sense when your thoughts, words, and actions move in the same direction. Most people live divided lives. They say one thing, think another, and do something entirely different. That's why so many feel drained, confused, or stuck. There's no power in fragmentation. Power exists only in alignment. When your inner world and your outer world match, your life begins to flow. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. Peace becomes your natural state. Decisions become simpler, not because life gets easier, but because you've removed the inner conflict that was clouding your mind. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about being real enough to admit when you're out of sync. When you say you want success, but spend your days in distraction, you're out of alignment. When you talk about love, but carry resentment in your heart, you're out of alignment. When you dream big but think small, you're out of alignment. Every misalignment drains your energy, blurs your focus, and distances you from your purpose. But when you begin to align, everything changes. Your energy rises. Your decisions carry weight. Your presence becomes magnetic. You no longer chase what you deserve. You attract it. People struggle not because they're incapable, but because they're disconnected. They want one thing, but believe another. They set goals that don't reflect their values. They work hard on things that don't truly matter to them. The result, burnout, frustration, emptiness. Alignment is the cure to that. It's living with integrity between who you are, what you believe, and what you do. It's when your actions are an echo of your values, not a performance for the world. Think of your life like an instrument. When it's out of tune, the sound is off. No matter how talented you are, the music doesn't feel right. But when you take time to tune it, to adjust, to recalibrate, everything harmonizes. That's alignment. It's tuning your thoughts to your goals, tuning your habits to your dreams, tuning your emotions to your mission. Once you do, the song of your life plays smoothly, clearly, powerfully. Alignment doesn't mean every day will be perfect. It means you know how to return to center when things go wrong. It means you stop being reactive and start being responsive. You don't let circumstances control your state of mind. You choose your state of mind, no matter the circumstances. You can face chaos and still stay calm because you're anchored within. You can face rejection and still feel valuable because your worth isn't dependent on approval. You can face failure and still feel progress because your actions are rooted in purpose. When you're aligned, you stop fighting yourself. There's a quiet confidence that comes from living in truth. You no longer need to explain or justify your choices to others because you know they come from your core values. You no longer chase validation because you validate yourself through action. You stop running from who you are and start walking in your truth. And that's when peace finds you, not the peace that comes from avoiding life, but the peace that comes from living it with integrity. Most people confuse peace with comfort, but comfort often hides stagnation. True peace is knowing you're doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's knowing that your actions align with your principles, that your words reflect your beliefs, that your choices move you toward your vision. You sleep better because there's no contradiction tearing you apart inside. Alignment gives you strength that doesn't shout. It radiates quietly, powerfully, uncheckably. But to live in alignment, you must know your values. You must know what matters to you more than approval, more than applause, more than ease. You must define your standards before the world tries to define them for you. Because if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for everything. And if you're not intentional about who you are, the world will shape you into someone else. Alignment also requires discipline. You can't align your life by thinking about it. You align it through consistent action. Every morning, you make small decisions that either strengthen or weaken your alignment. The food you eat, the people you spend time with, the thoughts you entertain, the work you commit to, all of it matters. Every choice is either pulling you closer to your truth or pushing you further from it. When you understand that, you stop taking your days for granted. You start living deliberately. Living in alignment means saying no more often. You can't say yes to everything and expect to live a focused life. You have to protect your energy, your vision, your time. You have to walk away from things that don't match your values, even if they look appealing. That's hard, but that's growth. You'll be misunderstood sometimes. You'll lose people who don't understand your path. But losing misalignment is not a loss. It's liberation. And when your life starts to align, something beautiful happens. You attract people who share that same energy. Relationships become deeper because they're built on truth, not pretense. Work becomes meaningful because it reflects who you are, not just what you do. You stop forcing things to happen because the right things begin to flow naturally. That's the magic of alignment. It doesn't force, it flows. The more aligned you become, the more authentic your life feels. You stop living for someday and start living for now. You realize that purpose isn't found. It's created moment by moment by living in truth. And once you understand that you'll never settle for anything less than a life that feels right from the inside out. But alignment is just the beginning. It's the foundation. The real journey is becoming your best self. And that's a lifelong process. It's not about reaching a final version of you. It's about evolving, refining, and growing continuously. Every experience, good or bad, is shaping you into a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of yourself. The person you are today is not the person you were a year ago, and that's a victory. Because growth means you're alive, aware, and moving forward. Becoming your best self starts with ownership. You must own your life completely. The mistakes, the lessons, the achievements, the scars. Everything that has happened to you has a purpose, but you only discover that purpose when you take responsibility for your journey. The moment you stop blaming others, you start becoming powerful. Because as long as you blame, you give your power away. But when you take full ownership, you become unstoppable. Your best self doesn't emerge when life gets easier. It emerges when you get stronger. It's forged in challenge, not comfort. It's built through discipline, through consistency, through a commitment to growth even when no one is watching. Becoming your best self means doing the work internally, developing emotional strength, mental resilience, and spiritual peace. Because external success without internal growth is hollow. True greatness begins on the inside. You become your best self by mastering small moments, by choosing discipline when it's easier to procrastinate, by choosing kindness when it's easier to be angry, by choosing persistence when it's easier to quit. Growth isn't dramatic, it's subtle. It's the quiet daily choices that no one sees but that shape everything. Every small victory over your weaker impulses builds a stronger version of you. Your best self also knows how to forgive, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Holding on to anger and resentment only poisons you. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight of the past so you can move forward lighter and wiser. The person who can forgive is the person who truly knows their worth because they refuse to let negativity define them. Becoming your best self means living by principles, not emotions. Emotions are temporary, principles are timeless. You have days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or doubtful. But principles keep you steady. They remind you why you started. They anchor you when everything else feels uncertain. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in action. Every time you stay true to your principles, you reinforce your identity and strengthen your inner foundation. Growth also requires patience. You can't rush transformation. Just like a seed doesn't bloom the moment it's planted, you can't expect instant results. But if you keep watering the soil, if you keep showing up, learning, improving, you'll eventually bloom. The process may take time, but the results are always worth it. Because the longer the preparation, the stronger the foundation. Becoming your best self also means redefining success. It's not just about achievements or recognition, it's about fulfillment. Success without peace is failure in disguise. You can have everything externally and still feel empty if you're not aligned internally. True success is waking up every day knowing you're living in alignment with your values, that you're growing into someone you respect, that you're contributing something meaningful to the world. And perhaps most importantly, becoming your best self means never settling for average effort, average dreams, or average living. You were not born to be ordinary. You were born to evolve, to lead, to inspire. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you honor that purpose. Every time you push beyond what's easy, you prove your potential is greater than your excuses. So keep growing. Keep evolving. Keep aligning your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Because every time you do, you step closer to your best self, the version of you that's bold, balanced, and unstoppable. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be a real. It needs you to show up as the most honest, most courageous, most authentic version of yourself who you truly are. That's who you've always been underneath the noise, the fear and the doubt. You don't need to become someone new. You need to return to yourself. The strongest, most peaceful, and most fulfilled version of you is already inside, waiting for you to step to alignment and rise. When your inner world and outer world move as one, when your purpose and actions unite, you'll finally understand what it means to live. Not just exist, but to truly live as your highest self.